Turn-based system to be implemented for minibuses at STABROEK Park. COVID-19 task force pumps the brakes on MOVIETOWN'S drive-in cinema plans. Private sector minimum wage increase under consideration. Man sentenced to 3 years for marijuana possession in the region. CARICOM divided on Venezuela at OAS assembly. And internationally, Nigerian president warns protesters, fails to address shooting. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am George Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. The Home Affairs Ministry is attempting to bring some order to STABROEK Market Square. Here's Esther Sobers with that story.
The Ministry of Home Affairs is preparing to institute a rotation system intended to ease traffic congestion within the STABROEK market. This was discussed during a meeting held on Wednesday, which was attended by minibus drivers, vendors, and other stakeholders, as well as the president of the Minibus Association, Ian Andrews. Minister of Home Affairs Ronson Ben discussed several issues involving the road safety and congestion at the STABROEK Market Square. Ben said that the ministry will be looking to improve transportation and congestion issue at the park. In addition to implementing the turn system at the bus parks, the government will embark on other projects like completing road maintenance work around the STABROEK market, demarcation road lanes, and reinstalling barriers at the Kitty Camerville Park. The ministry will be working to address the concerns about police ranks and their relations with minibus operators, minibus touts, and hot plate buses also. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. 2 policemen and 2 nurses were injured after a cow in the road caused them to swerve into a nearby concrete culvert. The accident occurred on Thursday at around 8:30 p.m. on the number 59 Village Public Road, Quarantine, Berbice. The 4 occupants were taken to the Skeldon Public Hospital in conscious conditions, where the policemen were treated and sent away. The nurses, however, remain at the hospital for observation. The National COVID-19 Task Force has contacted MOVIETOWN ahead of its event planned for this weekend. In this report, Bibi Bacchus tells us that the NCTF states that the event is actually in contravention of the current health guidelines.
Over the past week, MOVIETOWN Guyana has been advertising their drive-in movie nights for the upcoming weekend. This event is expected to be an outdoor event hosted at their location on the east coast of Demerara. But yesterday, the management of MOVIETOWN Guyana received a letter from the National COVID-19 Task Force Secretariat informing them that such an event is actually against the current health guidelines. The letter stated, contained in the official Gazette number 158 of 2020, dated Wednesday, 30th September 2020, expressly prohibits the hosting of cinema events. Today, representatives from the MOVIETOWN Guyana issued a notice to the public stating that we are currently working closely with the National Task Force team to have this resolved. For Headline News Update, Bibi Bacchus.
Thanks, Bibi. Stick around, we have more news coming up after the break.
The government of Guyana is committed to a comprehensive and inclusive housing development program for the benefit of all Guyanese. This is evident from its actions to date. However, the previous administration did absolutely nothing to identify alternative lands to house the persons squatting on state-owned lands on the east coast of Demerara. This illegal act was politically motivated, and poor and vulnerable individuals and families are being callously exploited for political purpose and private profiteering. Those lands have been identified for immediate and substantial cane cultivation by the Guyana Sugar Corporation. The information collected shows many of the squatters have proven to be homeowners, and yet the government has made every effort to engage the squatters and seek an amicable solution. Persons are being reminded that it is a criminal offense to illegally occupy state-owned land. The government cannot and will not allow squatting to be used as a means of acquiring land for housing. The government's offer to provide immediate, safe, temporary alternative accommodation to those persons in need remains in place.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I can do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Purja Singh and I'm the Senior Teacher at the Literature After School Program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online side, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379.
I can call them now.
Hidden Treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. This morning, a 42-year-old handyman was found guilty of trafficking 4 pounds of marijuana. Richard Pillay of Melanie, East Coast Demerara, pleaded not guilty to the charge which stated that on July 16, 2019 at Norton Street Lodge, he had in his possession 2 kilograms of marijuana for the purpose of trafficking. According to the prosecution, police caught Pillay at a restaurant. A search of his person uncovered the drugs in a haversack. Pillay was sentenced to 3 years in prison and fined $924,000. The Ministry of Labor is considering a proposal to increase the private sector minimum wage. Here's Bibi Backus with more.
The Minister of Labor is still pushing to increase the private sector minimum wage to $60,000. This is even as consideration is given to how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected businesses. Minister of Labor Joseph Hamilton made this disclosure during an interview with DPI on Tuesday. Under the previous government, a tripartite committee was responsible for reviewing the matter of increasing the private sector's minimum wage. The committee had recommended an increase of $60,000 from the current $44,200 a month. Minister Hamilton said, while he is comfortable with the recommendation, the tripartite committee has not met since March. However, there are plans to reconfigure and re-establish the committee with the assistance from Chief Labor Officer Charles Ogle. For Headline News Update, Bibi Backus.
Thanks, Bibi. One of the 3 men who escaped Lusignan prison on Tuesday is still on the run. Mark Ruffino of Good Intent Village, West Bank, Demerara, and Queenstown, Essequibo Coast Region 2 was among the 3 inmates. However, Alex Mathias and Arnold Kennedy were recaptured on Wednesday. Ruffino is one of the 5 persons charged for the murder of Better Hope money changer Aaron Latchman and his 18-year-old daughter Ariana Latchman. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, not even the pandemic will stop Colombia protesters, leaders say, and Nigerian president warns protesters but fails to address the shooting.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I can do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Singh and I'm the senior teacher at the literature after school program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online side, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379.
I can call them now.
Hidden Treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
The government of Guyana is committed to a comprehensive and inclusive housing development program for the benefit of all Guyanese. This is evident from its actions to date. However, the previous administration did absolutely nothing to identify alternative lands to house the persons squatting on state-owned lands on the east coast of Demerara. This illegal act was politically motivated, and poor and vulnerable individuals and families are being callously exploited for political purpose and private profiteering. Those lands have been identified for immediate and substantial cane cultivation by the Guyana Sugar Corporation. The information collected shows many of the squatters have proven to be homeowners, and yet the government has made every effort to engage the squatters and seek an amicable solution. Persons are being reminded that it is a criminal offense to illegally occupy state-owned land. The government cannot and will not allow squatting to be used as a means of acquiring land for housing. The government's offer to provide immediate, safe, temporary alternative accommodation to those persons in need remains in place.
Welcome back. CARICOM countries were divided on the issue of free and fair elections in Venezuela, with the Bahamas, Haiti, Jamaica, and St. Lucia all voting in favor of the resolution tabled at the 50th General Assembly of the Organization of American States. That ended on Wednesday. Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines voted against the resolution, while Barbados, Belize, Guyana, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago abstained. The resolution, which indicated that there has been a lack of minimum democratic conditions to guarantee free and fair and transparent elections in Venezuela, was approved after 21 countries voted in favor, 4 voted against, and 9 abstained. The resolution had been co-sponsored by the delegations of Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, United States, Guatemala, Haiti, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. CARICOM countries have long indicated their policy of non-interference and non-intervention in the internal affairs of the South American country, where the United States and its allies are seeking to remove President Nicolas Maduro in favor of the opposition leader, Juan Guaido. Protests have been held in the Colombian capital against the policies of President Iván Duque. Union members, students, teachers, and indigenous people are taking part in a national strike calling for better social and economic policies. They are also protesting against the killing of human rights activists and recent police violence. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti reports.
Waving flags and chanting against the president, thousands of Colombians marched in downtown Bogotá. It's the largest demonstration in the Colombian capital since the easing of coronavirus restrictions in September. A coalition of union members, teachers, students, and activists are demanding a variety of concessions, among them a minimum survival income for those who lost their jobs during the pandemic.
We want the government to talk to us. This shouldn't be the attitude of a leader interested in unity. Only by talking to all sectors of society can we find common solutions.
Almost 10,000 representatives of Colombia's many indigenous and ethnic groups also traveled to the capital, demanding to meet with President Iván Duque. They're calling for an end to the killings of hundreds of human rights activists and the rising violence in their territories. They accuse Duque of turning a blind eye to the killings and the peace accord signed 4 years ago with a rebel group that promised to end years of violence.
We will not stand idly at home anymore. We are back on the streets demanding guarantees for our life and demand this government implements the peace accord. This is a message for the international community as well. They can't keep silent.
Anger against the government had already reached the boiling point a year ago, with some of the biggest demonstrations in decades, before being muted by the pandemic. President Ivan Duque has dismissed the protesters' demands as politically motivated, also refusing to meet with the leaders of the strike and the indigenous organizations that traveled to Bogotá. He says the protests could cause another major virus outbreak, just as the country's economy is trying to recover.
Nothing justifies putting our health and life at risk right now. If we need to discuss, let's do it within the framework of democracy, without issuing a summons or ultimatums or invoking judgments that have no basis in reality.
But protesters and their leaders say they will continue to confront the government, calling for another strike a month from now, on the anniversary of last year's mass demonstrations that brought the country to a halt. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
And internationally, Nigeria's president has addressed the nation after more than 2 weeks of protests against police brutality and the government. Muhammadu Buhari called for the demonstrations to end on the day prison and many other buildings in Lagos were set on fire. But he did not mention the shooting of protesters on Tuesday. Al Jazeera's Ahmad Idris reports.
For a brief moment, the gunfire stops, interrupted by families who are in mourning. Mamadou Saidou Diallo, 14 years old, Cherno Nasiru Sila, 13 years old, and 10-year-old Umar Diallo. These young victims were shot by security forces, some in the face, while they were celebrating candidate Seydou Dalein Diallo's preliminary victory announcement in Sunday's presidential vote.
The military fire on children, small boys, 10 to 20 years old. They never pick on real men. I hope that their death will not go in vain and that the violence will stop.
Preliminary results announced by the election commission known as the CENI suggest Alpha Condé is set to win a landslide victory. Diallo's supporters are taking to the streets protesting the election results. His party believes Diallo won with 53% of the votes.
We don't trust the Senate because we have our own figures, and our own figures have nothing to do with the Senate. Nothing to do with the Senate. And it's important to look about what's happened during the electoral process. The military took the ballot boxes. In some places, it was not possible for us in Canton to make campaign and to make our voice heard.
Mobile phone footage circulating on social media like this one showing election officials penning votes in favor of the president is deepening mistrust in the electoral process. The 82-year-old president amended the constitution earlier this year, which allowed him to run for a third term in office. The decision sparked widespread criticism and protests. Condé is set to become one of the continent's oldest heads of state in a country where most are under the age of 25. Meanwhile, the government is accusing Diallo of fomenting unrest by announcing his victory before the official election results.
Alpha Condé is a Democrat. He will accept the outcome no matter the result.
Additional mobile phone footage shows the military taking position inside Fulani neighborhoods known to support Diallo. Power has been cut and people live in fear. Look at these dogs, comments the woman filming. They're shooting our people. Over 10 people have died and scores have been injured. Shot by security forces using force to silence dissent against a population it is meant to protect, not kill. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera.
That's all for today's regional and international news. Here is your 3-day weather forecast. That's all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. Tune in Monday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Also, visit our website at headlinenewsghana.com for all the news we couldn't fit in the newscast. Until then, take care.